everyone knows I love RedState. I'm on it all the time. And a few weeks ago, when our biggest problem was the bill full of pork, there was a great article on Porkulus. That's what it was called. And it caught my eye, and I reached out to the author, and her name is Jennifer Oliver O'Connell. And I asked her if she'd come on, and we weren't able to figure it out then. But today, with all of this going on, whether it's impeachment or the recall of Governor Gavin Newsom, the effort to recall him, I thought, who better to have on? So she writes for RedState, but also asthegirlturns.com. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Grace, for having me. I'm glad we were finally able to put this thing together.
Awesome. Now, Jennifer, my first question for you is, what is your take on impeachment? I know you never hold back. Are you thinking that this is a good play for the Democrats, or are they overplaying their hand?
They are totally overplaying their hand. People were weary of the last impeachment. And can you believe it was like less than a year ago? We're weary, on top of being weary with COVID, on top of being weary with going back to Porkulus, that hypocritical bill where they doled us out $600. And think of this, Grace. We still haven't resolved that. They were all excited about getting us $2,000 and planning on doing that. And suddenly it's forgotten because we must get the president out 7 days before he's supposed to leave anyway.
Right. The timing of it is bizarre. And I also wanted to ask you, though, about this Mitch McConnell aspect, because now it seems like a lot of these Republicans, whether it's Liz Cheney or Mitch McConnell, are kind of softening up to the idea of removing Donald Trump, even if it is 100 days later. I don't even know what that means, removing a guy who's already out. But what is your take on some of these RINOs getting extra squishy in the final moments of the Trump presidency?
I think they see an opportunity to get their power back, whatever that means for any of them, whether it's prestige, because if Trump did anything besides the fact of, changing and transforming how we view America and being citizens and all that stuff, he showed us how to be liked. So these people who used to be the experts, used to be the stars, like Liz Cheney, like McConnell, not that McConnell's necessarily a star, but he had gravitas. They're being overshadowed by new congressional members.
Right.
who are very much aligned with Trump and very much believe in the MAGA model. And I don't think they like it. They like being the elite and the supreme beings in that party and being the faces of the Republican Party. And they think they're going to get that back. And they get it back quicker if they can totally just wipe Trump off the face of the earth. And I think that's what this is all about. Let's just wipe him out, get rid of his reputation so that we can be the luminaries again.
I'm talking to Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from RedState and asthegirlturns.com. And Jennifer, you just hit on something I thought of myself today. I think this is more ego than anything else because it's pretty short-sighted politically. But as far as Mitch McConnell's ego, he's no longer going to be the Senate Majority Leader. That does make sense to me. So I think that's a great point. My next question for you is, see, on my show, I'm out of Boston. We do a lot of talk about Governor Andrew Cuomo in New York, our own governor, Charlie Baker, or Charlie Parker, as Joe Biden liked to call him. But you write a lot about California and this effort to reopen California. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Certainly. Well, first of all, we are recalling our governor, despite his party, the Democratic Party, saying, it's not the will of the people and this is a coup. They need a vocabulary and a dictionary lesson, frankly. It is the will of the people. We have over 1 million signatures last time it was reported. So I think the will of the people wants to get rid of Gavin Newsom. So that's hot and heavy and going well. And we, any Californian who might be listening, recall Gavin2020.com. If you have not signed, please print it out, sign it, give it to your friends to sign. We also, I also covered a conference this weekend called Reopen Cal Now. And it basically had assembly members, board of supervisors, mayors of towns, policymakers, or the people who are supposed to be making policy in the state of California, talking about how we can get our state open safely. COVID is real. We understand that. We know people are dying. But, hey, you doubling down on a lockdown when people are still dying is obviously not the solution. So what is the solution? So we talked about solutions. We had doctors, trained doctors, the doctor who mounted the Great Barrington Declaration. It was a letter saying lockdowns do not work. Here's the healthy path to protect people from COVID and get on with our lives. We had Sheriff Jones, Scott Jones, Sacramento County Sheriff, as well as Sheriff DiAgostino, El Dorado County. Those are both Northern California. But they basically have opposed Newsom's lockdown orders, basically saying we're not going to enforce this. We're not going to be the police of giving people tickets and locking them in their home. We're here to serve the people, not penalize the people. So that was the discussion that went around. If you go to RedState.com, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell is my handle, or As the Girl Turns. There's videos of a couple of the assembly members that I've interviewed. I've interviewed Dr. George Fareed, who has basically saved lives, who are people who were dying from COVID or suffering from it. He's saved many lives through a particular cocktail or particular therapy that he's implemented. So those are the things that are up on my page now, just covering how we can get California back. First of all, how we can get our constitutional rights back, how we can get back to government for the people, by the people, and then also, how we can get back to work and combat COVID as well as just get our lives back.
Yeah, and Jennifer, I find it so interesting that you're talking about this effort to recall Gavin Newsom, because today it was the first real case, I thought, of using what happened at the Capitol, which, I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with me, was awful. And, we
Yep.
do not condone violence of any kind. But what's interesting is this recall of Gavin Newsom is totally legal. It's actually what, political discourse and disagreement and, the lawful effort to recall someone, that's what the country's all about. And I don't know if you saw this, but there was talk that, and it was from Gavin Newsom and his fellow Democrats, that this was, part of the people that were rioting are the people who are trying to recall this, and it's a coup. Do you have any comments on that?
He's trying to paint it as Trump supporters and MAGA, which is the knee-jerk reaction of Democrats in this state. It's so ridiculous because they have a supermajority. This state is either extremely purple or close to blue. I'm not saying there's not red in it. Definitely certain counties are red counties, Orange County being one of them. But for the most part, people are very much about, I just want to get on with my life. I'm not necessarily MAGA and I'm not this. I just want to get along with my life. And that's what it's about. It's about overreach of the Democrat supermajority implementing laws that nobody wants. AB 5 is a major one that got passed in 2019, implemented in 2020. COVID kind of overshadowed it, but it has totally destroyed livelihoods of independent contractors in California. And I'm one of those. We have all been hopping mad. We've done stuff about it. We helped to get Prop 22 on the ballot. Prop 22 passed because of AB 5. But they're very tone deaf in seeing that their actions are what is causing this uprising. If they've taken away and stripped power from the legislatures, from the Board of Supervisors, from the mayors that are supposed to be implementing and helping the people and guide them into law, they've totally stripped them and put everything in the power of Governor Newsom. Assemblymen Kiley and Gallagher are two people who are suing Gavin Newsom, and they successfully won an injunction against him regarding his executive orders. Now it's on appeal. And they are literally saying that he says, no, I should have if there's a state of emergency, I should have all the power, and really local governments just aren't smart enough. People aren't smart enough or wise enough to know what to do.
Not everyone's smart enough to, lock down their entire state and then go to French Laundry for a birthday party. Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, thank you so much. Jennifer is from RedState. Jennifer, where can people find you on Twitter if they want, or your actual website?
Twitter is As the Girl Turns, at As the Girl Turns. easy, and the website is asthegirlturns.com.
Thank you.
You can find RedState as well as my other work there.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. We'll definitely have you back on. Jennifer's got her hands full with California. So much going on there. We think it's bad here in Massachusetts with our hack politicians, but they've got it even worse, I think, in California because they also have just, it's just the sidewalks are covered in poop, and that never helps the situation. And guys, we have a lot more to get to, but before we go to the break, I do want to play this cut of Jim Jordan. There's been a lot of talk about these RINO squishy Republicans, and I think it's worth noting that there are some stand-up people. I'm not going to say stand-up guys because there's a lot of girls too, including Elise Stefanik and other people. But listen to what Jim Jordan has to say. He never quits. Let's play this sound.
Americans are tired of the double standard. They are so tired of it. Democrats object to more states in 2017 than Republicans did last week, but somehow we're wrong. Democrats can raise bail for rioters and looters this summer, but somehow when Republicans condemn all the violence this summer, the violence last week, somehow we're wrong. And Democrats can investigate the President of the United States, as Mr. Hoyer went through, try to impeach him, investigate him for 4 years, but will not look at an election that 80 million Americans, half the electorate, 80 million, Republicans and Democrats have their doubts about. I said this last night. I do not know where all this goes. And this is frightening for the country.
I really think that is such a solid point because when the Democrats were trying to investigate Trump for 4 years and when they were impeaching him and when there was a Russia investigation, when there was anything at all, his taxes, whatever they wanted, it was a scandal and it was our right as Americans to investigate and to get to the bottom of it. And Maxine Waters said, we got to connect the dots. And every road led to Putin. And no one was accused of being racist or bigots or anything like that. And because of a few nut jobs at the Capitol last week, now every single thing that Trump supporters have said for the last 4 years is supposed to be voided, is supposed to be a moot point. And I applaud Jim Jordan for saying it. That's what every Republican should be saying. Because, listen, is it Bill Belichick's job to become a political person and get the Medal of Freedom? No. Is it the guy who works in marketing's job to stand up and lose his job over it? No. But these people who are elected to speak for us, it is their job. It is their job. It's not their job to be liked. It's not their job to get invited to cocktail parties. It's not their job to get puff pieces written about them in the Washington Post. It's their job to speak up for Americans when we need to be spoken up for. And that's right now. Guys, we have so much more to get to and a great guest coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, not including Howie Carr, but he's also a great guest. We will be right back. This is The Grace Curley Show.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.